I thought it was my husband. That's the part that still echoes in my head when I lie awake at night, the part one keep repeating to myself like it somehow changes what happened. It was past midnight. The house was quiet except for the slow ticking of the clock in the hallway, and the faint hum of the bathroom fan still running. I had already turned off the bedside lamp, leaving the room in that soft, gray darkness where shapes exist but details don't. My husband was supposed to come home late. He texted around 11. Don't wait up. Work ran long. So I didn't. I pulled the blanket up, rolled onto my side and tried to fall asleep. The sheets were cool against my legs. The window was cracked open just enough to let the night air slip in. I must have drifted off for a little while, because the next thing I remember was hearing the bedroom door open. Slowly. The hinges made that quiet, familiar creak they always made. I didn't turn around. I didn't even open my eyes. Hey! I murmured softly into the pillow. No answer. But I heard footsteps. Careful ones. Like someone trying not to wake me. The mattress dipped behind me a second later. A familiar weight. A warm hand brushed against my waist through the thin fabric of my shirt. And without thinking, without even opening my eyes, I moved closer. That's the dangerous thing about routine. Your body recognizes someone before your mind does. His arm slid around me, pulling me gently back against his chest. I could feel the warmth of his breath near the back of my neck, the slow rise and fall of it. For a moment I just stayed there. Comfortable. Safe. Long night. I whispered. Still no answer. But his hand moved slowly along my side, fingers tracing the curve of my hip through the blanket. My skin reacted instantly. A small shiver ran up my spine. Felt like him. The same quiet way he always touched me when he came to bed late. The same slow patience. The same silence. His fingers slipped under the edge of my shirt, brushing warm skin. My breath caught just slightly as his palm rested against my stomach, and I leaned back into him more. That half-asleep instinct. The kind where you don't question anything. Where your body simply melts into the person you think you know. His nose brushed lightly against my hair. I could feel the heat of him through the thin fabric of his t-shirt pressed against my back. Then his hand moved higher. Slow. Careful. Almost hesitant. My heart started beating a little faster. I reached back lazily, my fingers touching his wrist, not to stop him, just to feel him, just to say I was awake. His skin felt warm, but different, rougher somehow. For a split second, a tiny thought flickered through my mind. Something unfamiliar. But his hand tightened gently around me at that exact moment, pulling me closer against him. My breath slipped out in a quiet exhale, and I let the thought disappear. Because in the dark, when someone's arms are around you, your body doesn't ask many questions. Not yet. And when his lips finally brushed the back of my neck, I didn't stop him. His lips brushed the back of my neck. Soft. Slow. Almost cautious. The kind of kiss that barely exists. Just warmth, just breath. Just enough to wake every nerve under my skin. A quiet shiver rolled through me. I exhaled into the pillow. His arm tightened around my waist, pulling me closer. My back pressed fully against his chest now, and the heat of him seeped through the thin layers of fabric between us. Outside, a car passed somewhere down the street. Its headlights slid briefly across the ceiling through the window before disappearing again. The room returned to darkness. His fingers traced a slow path along my stomach, just beneath the hem of my shirt. Not rushed. Not greedy. Just familiar. Or at least that's what I thought. I shifted slightly, turning my head enough for my cheek to brush his forearm. "You're quiet tonight," I murmured, voice still thick with sleep. He didn't answer. But his hand moved again, higher this time, pausing just under my ribs like he was deciding whether to continue. My breath caught. That hesitation felt strangely intimate, like he was asking permission without words. So I gave it. I reached behind me again, letting my fingers rest lightly over his hand, not pushing it away, just acknowledging it. The moment my skin touched his, he continued. His palm slid slowly upward, warm against my skin, until it rested over my heart. I could feel my pulse thudding beneath his hand. Fast. Too fast. "You're cold," he whispered quietly near my ear. My eyes fluttered open. For a second I was still half inside a dream. His voice sounded deeper than usual, rougher. But sleep does strange things to sound. "I'm fine," I murmured. His nose brushed lightly along my neck. A slow inhale. Then his lips touched my shoulder this time. A soft, lingering press. My body reacted instantly. My toes curled beneath the sheets. A wave of warmth spread slowly through my chest, down my stomach into my legs. God, I had missed this. The past few weeks had been nothing but stress for him, late nights, work calls, barely any time together. Most nights he came home exhausted and collapsed into bed without even touching me. So when his fingers tightened gently around my waist again, pulling me closer, I melted into it. My hand slid back along his arm, fingers tracing the shape of his wrist, the back of his hand. Something about it made me pause. The bones felt slightly different. Stronger maybe. My fingertips moved slowly along his knuckles, then lower toward his palm. And that's when I felt it. A ring. But not in the place I expected. My husband always wore his wedding band on his left hand. This one was on the right. My eyes opened wider in the darkness. My body went still. For a moment neither of us moved. His breath was still warm against the back of my neck. His hand was still resting over my heart. And the silence suddenly felt different. Heavy. My voice came out barely above a whisper. "Mark." The name floated into the darkness between us. Behind me the man froze. Completely. I felt it instantly, the subtle tension in his arm, the way his breath stopped for half a second. And in that tiny pause, something cold slid slowly down my spine. Because my husband's name wasn't Mark. Mark. The name barely left my lips. But the effect was immediate. Behind me the man went completely still. Not the relaxed stillness of someone resting. The sharp, frozen kind, like every muscle in his body suddenly locked. The hand over my heart didn't move. But the warmth in the room changed. For a few seconds the only sound was the clock ticking in the hallway. Tick, tick, tick. My heart was beating so hard beneath his palm, I was sure he could feel it. Slowly, very slowly. His fingers loosened around my waist. He didn't pull away yet. He just stopped touching me. And that silence suddenly felt enormous. My mouth went dry. "Mark." I whispered again, softer this time. A long breath left the man behind me. Not startled. Not panicked. Just controlled. Then his voice came, low and careful, near my ear. "You thought I was someone else." It wasn't a question. My stomach dropped instantly. That voice. Deep. Calm. Unfamiliar. I turned my head slightly, trying to see him in the darkness, but the room was too dim. The curtains blocked most of the streetlight, leaving only vague shadows. All I could make out was the outline of a shoulder behind me. My throat tightened. "You're not?" I started, but I already knew. My husband's voice was lighter, faster when he spoke. This man sounded like he weighed every word before letting it out. And suddenly my brain began racing. How did he get in here? Why was he in our house? Why was he in our bed? My hand instinctively grabbed the blanket and pulled it tighter around me. "You're not my husband," I said quietly. Another pause. His breath brushed my neck again as he spoke. "No." Just one word. Calm. Simple. My body finally reacted. I pushed myself up quickly, turning halfway toward him. The mattress shifted beneath us. The darkness swallowed his face, but now I could see more of his shape. Broad shoulders, dark hair, the faint outline of his jaw. He was sitting close. Too close. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice suddenly sharper. For a moment he didn't answer. Then he leaned back slightly, giving me space. "I should probably ask the same thing," he said. That confused me enough that I blinked. "What?" "This is Mark's house," he said quietly. My chest tightened. "No," I said immediately. "This is our house." Another silence. He turned his head slightly toward the door, then back to me. "Second floor," he murmured. "Right bedroom." My stomach flipped. "Yes," I said slowly. He let out a soft breath. Then we're both in the wrong place. A strange tension filled the room. I looked at him more carefully now, trying to make out details in the darkness. He wasn't acting like someone who broke in. He wasn't nervous. If anything, he sounded almost embarrassed. "You said Mark," he added quietly. "Yeah." That's my brother. The sentence hung in the air. And suddenly everything rearranged itself in my mind. The late-night family dinner last weekend. My husband mentioning that his brother might stay over sometime. The guest room upstairs. The house being dark. My breath caught. You're Daniel? I asked slowly. He nodded. I got in late, he said. Your husband said the guest room was the second door on the right. My eyes widened. Oh my God. The guest room was the second door. Our bedroom was the first. We both went silent. Then at the exact same moment we both spoke. Wait. And that's when the realization crashed down fully. He hadn't meant to come into this room. He thought it was empty. He thought it was the guest room. And I had been half asleep, thinking he was my husband, which meant every touch, every breath, every moment. Neither of us meant for it to happen. But the strangest part? Neither of us had moved away yet. And Daniel's voice came again, quieter now. I should go, he said. But he didn't stand up. And neither did I. I should go, Daniel said quietly. But he didn't move. The mattress still dipped beneath his weight beside me. I could feel the heat of his body through the blanket, the faint warmth lingering where his hand had been only seconds ago. Neither of us spoke. Somewhere outside, a branch scraped softly against the window. The sound made the silence inside the room feel even heavier. You thought I was your husband, he said finally. His voice was calm. But there was something underneath it now. Something tighter. Yes, I answered. My fingers twisted the edge of the sheet in my lap. My eyes were adjusting to the darkness now. I could see more of him, the outline of his shoulders, the shape of his face turned slightly toward me. And suddenly I realized something else. We were still sitting very close. Too close for two people who had just realized they had made a mistake. I didn't know someone was in here, he continued. It was dark. I know, I said quickly. My heart was still racing from the realization. But another sensation had started to creep in alongside the embarrassment. The memory of his hands. The warmth of his breath. My skin still remembered. I shifted slightly, pulling the blanket higher around me. We should just pretend that didn't happen, I murmured. Daniel let out a soft breath. Probably. But again he didn't stand up. Instead, he leaned back slightly, bracing one arm behind him on the mattress. The movement made the bed creak softly beneath us. The sound felt loud in the quiet room. I didn't mean to, he started. I know, I interrupted quickly. Another pause. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. You didn't stop me. My throat tightened. For a second I couldn't answer. Because he was right. When his arms wrapped around me, I had leaned into him. When his hand moved along my side, I hadn't pushed it away. My voice came out softer now. I thought you were him. I know, Daniel said. But his voice sounded different now. Lower. More thoughtful. I could feel his eyes on me in the darkness. The air between us felt warmer suddenly. My heart started beating faster again. We should sleep, I said, even though the words sounded weak the moment they left my mouth. Yeah, he agreed. Neither of us moved. Seconds stretched. Then slowly, very slowly, he shifted closer again. Not touching me. Just closer. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of his arm again beside mine. My breath caught slightly. You know what the strange part is? He murmured. What? In the dark. His voice dropped lower. You didn't feel like a stranger. A pulse of heat moved through my chest. I swallowed. That's because you thought I was someone else, I said quietly. No, he replied. A long pause followed. Then his voice came again, almost thoughtful. I realized pretty quickly you weren't asleep. My fingers tightened in the blanket. What? You reacted, he said softly. When I touched you. My pulse thudded loudly in my ears. You didn't move away. My breath slowed. The room felt smaller somehow. I told you, I whispered. I thought you were my husband. Daniel didn't answer right away. Instead, he shifted again, just slightly closer. Now our shoulders were almost touching. And when he finally spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. But now you know I'm not. But now you know I'm not. Daniel's words lingered in the darkness between us. For a moment, neither of us breathed. My shoulder was barely an inch from his now. I could feel the warmth coming off his skin, steady and real. Too real. I should have moved. That would have been the normal thing to do. Stand up. Turn on the light. Laugh awkwardly. Walk out of the room. But instead I stayed exactly where I was. And that scared me a little. My voice came out quieter than I expected. Yes, I whispered. I know. The mattress shifted softly as Daniel adjusted his position. His knee brushed the blanket covering my leg, sending a faint ripple of heat up my body. Neither of us acknowledged it. Outside, the wind pushed gently against the window. The curtain moved slightly, letting a thin line of streetlight slide across the floor. For the first time, I could see a little more of his face. The outline of his jaw. His eyes watching me. Your husband said he wouldn't be home tonight, Daniel said after a moment. My stomach tightened. He had work. I know. That answer surprised me. You know? I asked. He told me earlier, Daniel said. That's why he said I could stay. The room went quiet again. The meaning of that settled slowly in my mind. He thought the house was empty, and for a moment earlier, I had thought the same thing. My fingers loosened their grip on the blanket. The fabric slipped slightly, exposing my shoulder to the cooler air. Daniel noticed. I saw his gaze drop for half a second before lifting again. My pulse jumped. This is a mistake, I said softly. Yes, he replied. But his voice didn't sound convinced. Neither of us moved. The silence stretched again, thick and heavy. Then something unexpected happened. Daniel reached out slowly. Not suddenly. Not aggressively. Just a careful movement. His hand stopped halfway between us. Waiting. The space between his fingers and my arm felt charged. You can tell me to leave, he said quietly. My heart pounded. I should have said it immediately. Leave. One simple word. But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. Instead, I became aware of the smallest details around us. The faint scent of his cologne. The quiet rhythm of his breathing. The warmth still lingering on my skin where he had touched me earlier. And the dangerous truth underneath it all. My body remembered how it felt when I thought he was my husband. Daniel must have seen the hesitation in my face. Because his hand lowered slightly. Not touching me. Just resting on the mattress between us. You're thinking about it, he murmured. I swallowed. Yes. Another quiet pause. Then he leaned just a little closer, his voice softer now. You didn't pull away earlier. My breath caught. And now, he continued slowly, you still haven't. The air between us felt electric. My chest rose and fell slowly as I looked at him in the dim light. Then, without fully deciding to, my hand moved, just a few inches, until my fingers rested lightly on the back of his. The moment our skin touched, Daniel inhaled slowly, and this time, neither of us pretended it was a mistake anymore. The moment my fingers touched the back of Daniel's hand, everything inside me tightened. His skin was warm, real, not imagined. For a few seconds, neither of us moved. My fingertips rested against his knuckles, light enough that I could still pull away at any moment. But I didn't. Daniel's breathing slowed deeper now. I could feel the subtle shift in the mattress as his body leaned slightly closer. You're still thinking, he murmured. I let out a quiet breath. Yes. The room felt smaller than it had before. The darkness wrapped around us like a secret. I could hear the clock in the hallway again. Tick, tick, tick. Each second felt louder. This shouldn't happen, I whispered. No, he agreed softly. But his hand turned slowly beneath mine, his fingers sliding gently between my own. The contact sent a sudden wave of warmth up my arm. I swallowed. You're my brother-in-law, I said quietly. Daniel didn't pull his hand away. I know. His thumb brushed lightly across my fingers. The gesture was slow, careful, almost testing the moment. My heart started racing again. Then why aren't we stopping? I asked. He hesitated before answering. Because neither of us moved. The honesty in his voice made my chest tighten. Outside, another car passed on the street. For a brief moment, faint light slipped through the curtains again, illuminating the side of his face. I saw his eyes clearly now, focused on me. Not confused. Not mistaken. completely aware. The light faded again, returning the room to darkness. My body reacted before my mind could stop it. I leaned closer. Only an inch. But Daniel noticed. His breath brushed softly across my cheek now. "Tell me to leave," he said again, his voice lower this time. The words hovered between us. I should have said it. I knew that. But instead, my gaze dropped to his lips in the dim light. My pulse pounded in my ears. "You could still walk out," I whispered. "I could," he replied. Neither of us moved. Then his hand lifted slowly. Not suddenly. Just a gentle movement upward until his fingers touched my cheek. My breath caught. His palm rested there for a moment, warm against my skin. Not pushing. Not pulling. Just holding the moment in place. "Last chance," he murmured. The air felt electric around us. My heart was beating so hard I could feel it in my throat. And instead of pulling away, I closed the distance. Just enough that my forehead rested lightly against his. For a second we stayed like that, breathing the same air, feeling the same heat building between us. Then Daniel whispered something so quiet I barely heard it. "This is the wrong room." My lips parted slightly. "Yes," I breathed. And in the darkness, neither of us stepped back. For a moment our foreheads stayed pressed together in the darkness. Neither of us spoke. Our breaths mixed in the small space between our faces, warm and uneven. I could feel the rise and fall of Daniel's chest through the mattress beneath us, slow but heavy, like he was holding something back. Or maybe waiting for me to. My fingers were still tangled with his. And suddenly that simple contact felt louder than anything else in the room. "This is a mistake," I whispered again. But the words had lost their strength. Daniel didn't argue. He didn't agree either. Instead, his thumb moved slowly along the side of my hand. The smallest motion, but it sent a quiet shiver up my arm. "You're shaking," he said softly. I hadn't noticed. But now that he said it, I felt it. The faint tremor in my fingers, the uneven rhythm of my breathing. "I shouldn't be here like this," I murmured. "In this room. In this moment." Daniel was quiet for a few seconds. Then he said something that made my heart skip. "You came closer." It wasn't an accusation, just a fact. And he was right. I had closed that last inch between us. Not him. My throat tightened. "Yes," I admitted quietly. The silence that followed felt heavier than before. My shoulder brushed lightly against his now. The contact was subtle, but it made my skin warm instantly. Daniel's hand lifted slowly from mine. For a split second I thought he was finally pulling away. Instead, his fingers moved to my wrist. He held it gently, not restraining me, just feeling the pulse beneath my skin. My heartbeat was racing. "You feel that?" he murmured. I nodded faintly. "That's what this moment is doing to you." His voice was low, steady, but there was tension in it now. My breath came out slower. "I'm married," I whispered. "I know. And you're his brother." "I know that too." Each word felt like it should have ended this. But somehow, it didn't. Daniel's hand moved slowly upward along my arm until his palm rested lightly against my shoulder, the same place he had touched earlier when he thought I was someone else. My body reacted instantly. The memory rushed back. The warmth, the closeness, the dangerous comfort of that mistake. "You didn't pull away then," he said quietly. "And you didn't either," I replied. That made him pause. Then a quiet breath left him. "You're right." Outside, the wind picked up slightly, rustling the leaves against the window. The room felt warmer now. Smaller. More private. Daniel's hand slid slowly from my shoulder to the side of my neck. His touch was careful, like he was still giving me time to stop him. But I didn't move. My eyes closed for just a moment as his thumb brushed lightly along my jaw. Every nerve in my body felt awake. "This changes things," I said softly. "Yes. We can't pretend this didn't happen." "No." My eyes opened again. Even in the darkness, I could see the way he was looking at me now. Not confused. Not mistaken. Completely aware. Then Daniel leaned closer. Slow enough that I could stop him if I wanted to. Close enough that his breath touched my lips. And in that suspended second before anything happened, I realized something that made my chest tighten. Earlier tonight, I thought I was melting into my husband. But now, my body knew exactly who was in front of me, and it still wasn't moving away. Daniel stopped just before our lips touched. The pause felt endless. His breath brushed softly across my mouth, warm and uneven. I could feel the tension in the way his fingers rested at the side of my neck, not pulling me closer, not letting go either, giving me the choice. My heart was pounding so loudly I was sure he could hear it. In the quiet, the house suddenly felt very real again. The hallway, the stairs, the empty living room downstairs, and the simple, terrifying truth sitting between us. My husband could walk through that door tomorrow morning. "You're thinking again," Daniel whispered. "Yes." His forehead rested lightly against mine now. I could feel the faint warmth of his skin, the steady rhythm of his breathing. "If you want me to leave," he said quietly, "this is the moment." My fingers tightened slightly in the fabric of the sheet. The moment. I knew exactly what he meant, because after this nothing would feel like a mistake anymore. The strange part was that the room hadn't changed at all. The same bed, the same quiet night, the same darkness, but something inside me had shifted. Earlier I had leaned into him because I thought he was my husband. Now I knew exactly who he was, and somehow the pull between us felt even stronger. "I should say stop," I whispered. Daniel didn't answer. His hand slowly slid from my neck to my shoulder, resting there with a gentle pressure. Grounding. Waiting. My breath trembled. "You should," he said softly. Another second passed. Then another. But instead of moving away, I lifted my hand. My fingers touched his jaw. I felt the rough edge of stubble beneath my fingertips, the warmth of his skin. Daniel inhaled slowly. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. No one had ever asked me that in a moment like this. Not with this much patience. Not with this much danger sitting in the air. My voice was barely a breath. "No." It was the most honest answer I could give. For a moment Daniel stayed perfectly still. Then something in his expression softened. He lowered his forehead to mine again, but he didn't close the distance. Instead, he let out a slow breath and gently took my hand in his. "We should stop here," he said. The words surprised me. "Why?" I asked softly. His thumb brushed once across my fingers before he let go. "Because tomorrow," he said quietly, "you'll still have to look him in the eyes." The truth of that landed like a stone in my chest. Daniel shifted back, the mattress lifting slightly as the space between us returned. The air suddenly felt cooler. He stood up slowly beside the bed. For a moment his silhouette paused near the door. Then he spoke again, his voice calm but heavier now. "You thought I was the wrong husband tonight." The door handle turned softly. "But if we didn't stop." A small pause. "I might have become the right mistake." The door opened, and just like that the room was quiet again. But my skin still remembered his touch. And somehow, that silence felt louder than anything we almost did.